Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 878A, and today's date is January 27th, 2016, and the title of the episode is U.S. Distress Ratio Reaches 2009 Level, Signaling an Economic Collapse. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, I'm going to upload an interview with G. Edward Griffin and Petrea Patrick. They did a documentary film offline where the power grid goes down, and the U.S. government is not prepared to help the people in this situation. So if you are on the X22Report.com email alert system, you'll get an email. If you've subscribed to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, YouTube should send you an email. If not, just come right over to the YouTube channel and you'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, you'll see on the right-hand side. Or go to News Sentinel, that's NEWZSENTINEL.com. Scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Well, the carnage is continuing on Wall Street. We are starting to see the fluctuations occur every single day right now. And the economy here in the United States, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, in the UK, it's all being kept together by an illusion. And we're starting to see mass layoffs. We're starting to see more and more companies saying, okay, we need to lay off more people because guess what? The sales aren't there. The revenues aren't there. We're seeing Staples. They're laying off about 100 more people in their headquarters. Norfolk Southern Corp, they're laying off 2,000 people. VMware, an update, they're laying off 800 now. And these numbers are going to continually rise. We're going to see more companies come out with layoffs as we go throughout this year, because as we see, things are falling apart rapidly. In the luxury housing market, the bubble is starting to pop. In London, which is one of the world's largest luxury real estate bubbles, we're starting to see that this bubble is starting to pop. With emerging markets now completely collapsing, guess what? The flood of foreign money is drying up. And with it, London's real estate. So this is popping right now. We're also seeing this here in the United States. We're seeing weakness in Manhattan real estate. And it's spreading to other areas. Actually, Bloomberg has an article, and they're saying, yes, the surge in U.S. mansion prices is now over. Everything is coming down. In Los Angeles, people are struggling to sell their million-dollar homes. In Florida, in Miami, in Sunny Isle, all that money coming up from South America, it is completely drying up. We are seeing the repeat of 2007 going into 2008 right now. In Houston, of course, as we know, in Houston, the energy sector is a complete disaster. And it is killing the luxury boom. Sales for home price at $500,000 or more dropped 17% in December from a year earlier. Manhattan resale prices for the top 20% of the market peaked in February and have been falling ever since, every single month. Now, all of a sudden today, they came out with new home sales. Now, of course, we had 9 months of missed expectations. And in December, in winter, all of a sudden it soared to 10.8%. And if you look at the graph, and you look at new home sales, and you go back to the peak of 2004 when it was at its highs, between 2004 and 2005, where we are right now is nowhere near that. We're not even halfway there. I would say we're about a 16th there, maybe an 8th. That's it. The new home sales, the existing home sales, has been pretty much flatlined since the disaster of 2008-2009. It really hasn't gone anywhere. The U.S. government, the central bankers, the corporate media, they're doing whatever they possibly can to push the idea that the real estate market is doing very, very well. And it really isn't. Actually, if you look at the demand for lumber, you look at lumber prices and construction spending, it is all down. And they're trying to convince us that construction, new home sales are rising. It doesn't make sense. Someone is lying here. And guess what? I'm going to point to the government. They are lying about what is really going on in this market. We're seeing manufacturing. As we know, it is getting worse and worse as time goes on. Caterpillar, which is a really good economic indicator of how everything is going around the world. And Caterpillar right now reported its latest monthly retail sales, and the numbers are absolutely terrible. December U.S. retail sales tumbled by negative 10%. Asia Pacific down negative 21%. Latin America is down by negative 36%. Global retail sales dropped by negative 16%. So what are we seeing right now? Well, we're seeing a decline in sales. Now, if we remember and we go back to 2008 when we started the Great Recession, we had 19 months of declining sales. That was during the Great Recession. Then Caterpillar all of a sudden had this huge jump from 2010 all the way to the end of 2012. And it was in a slow decline. Now we are at the point where there's 37 months of declining sales, which is double what they had in the Great Recession. So at this point, they are worse off than they were during the Great Recession. So how is this economy doing well? It isn't. It's all a lie. The Baltic Dry Index has fallen another 8 points to 337. Remember, this is the raw material that is used in factories to produce goods. Now, if there's no demand out there, people going out purchasing things, companies going out and purchasing things, there's no reason for factories to produce. And we see a drop in retail, we see a drop in sales. Factories, we see a decline in manufacturing, and they don't have to order the raw materials. We see a drop in the Baltic Dry Index. It all fits, but the government wants us to believe that everything is fine. How possibly can it be fine? It can't be. Something very interesting happening in the COMEX vault. You know, where they store all the gold. Well, in September, the number of paper contracts per ounce of physical gold has risen to about 252. The ratio has since more than doubled that. The 40 million ounces of gold open interest and the record low 74,000 ounces of registered gold imply that as of Monday, the close of Monday, there was a whopping 542 ounces in potential paper claims to every ounce of physical gold. Call it a 0.2% dilution factor. Right now, we're in uncharted waters. At this rate, there won't be any deliverable gold left in the vault by the end of the year, which has never happened before. You know what's funny, though? You know what the best performing currency of the 21st century is? When you look at all the currencies, it was gold. Gold maintained its purchasing power and was able to preserve the wealth. No other currency has done this. I mean, if you really think about it, currencies die out all the time. Go back in history. There are plenty of currencies that just don't exist anymore. But guess what does it? Guess what has existed all throughout time? Gold, silver, platinum, copper, precious metals. They're in it for the long haul. Paper currency is in it for the short, quick buck. That's it. So we're seeing the United States it has hit a distress ratio which is equivalent to 2009 when we were in the Great Recession. So we're seeing plummeting oil, and this has pushed the U.S. distress ratio, an indicator of economic recovery, to the level last seen during the Great Recession in 2009. This is coming from Standard & Poor's Rating Services in a report. The U.S. distress ratio has started the year at 29.6% in January, a level last surpassed in July of 2009 during the Great Recession, when the ratio fluctuated from 14.6 to 70%. So we're already at 30% here. The raising distress ratio points to a growing need for capital and usually signals increased defaults during a serious market disruption. So what's happening here? This entire system is falling apart, and we're seeing exactly what we saw back in 2007 going into 2008. But this time, it's much, much worse. This time, they haven't fixed anything. This time, all those people that lost their wealth back in 2008, they never recovered it. All the foreclosures and the short sales and everything else, the Fed is holding on to them. They own the toxic real estate. Those people that lost their jobs, who had high-paying jobs, they never got them again. They're working 2, 3, 4 part-time jobs just to make ends meet. And you know what's coming very soon? Capital controls. Because when an economy falls apart and the U.S. government and the central bankers have nothing left and they become desperate, guess what? They implement capital controls. Every government does this. So why do governments impose capital controls? Well, with capital controls, they try to block all the exits so you can't reach safe ground. The government uses capital controls when it's desperate, when it can no longer borrow, inflate the currency, tax, or steal the money in normal ways. In most cases, the government uses capital controls in severe crisis. I mean, banking collapses, war, economic problems, and they use it to control the people. And they make it very difficult for anyone to leave the country and to take their money. So if you can't get access to your money, guess what? Most likely you're not leaving the country. So we can see at this point we're heading down the path, and this is how it happens. To be effective, capital controls have to be a surprise. They can't announce it ahead of time. Hey, we're going to do capital controls. Everyone prepared for this? No. Usually this will happen on a Friday or so. This way, everyone doesn't realize what's going on. You're heading into the weekend. Friday after closing, all of a sudden they implement it. They did this in Cyprus. And basically what they do is they impose explicit taxes to discourage you from buying foreign investment, foreign currencies, or gold. Another tactic is taxing money transfers out of the country, say 20% on any amount transferred to a foreign account. They implement restrictions and regulations. They'll restrict how much foreign currency or gold you can own, import, or export. They may ask you to get permission to take a certain amount of money out of the country. Then they might even do outright prohibition. This is the most severe form of capital control. Sometimes a government explicitly prohibits the ownership of foreign currencies, foreign bank accounts, foreign assets, or gold, or moving any of it outside the country. And the U.S. government has done this before, back in 1933. Through Executive Order 6102, President Roosevelt forced Americans to exchange their gold for U.S. dollar. The U.S. government continued to prohibit private ownership of gold and gold bullion until 1974. And this time, we are completely off the gold standard. They're creating currency like crazy. We're in massive debt, and we are headed towards this major collapse, none that we've ever seen before. And this is why everyone needs to be ready, prepared. You need to have your house in order. You need to make sure you have cash on hand, gold, silver, weapons, food, water, toiletries, any type of medicines that if someone in your family has diabetes or anything else, have extra of that. But you need to be ready for what is coming. If you haven't started, you can go to lifereliance.com. They have bug out bags, water filtration systems, seeds. You can customize your order. Everything is delivered right to you. But there's many other areas you can do this. And if you haven't started, you need to start now. If you've been doing it, continue doing what you've been doing. Do not stop. Right now, the EU, they want total control of every single country. They don't want governments to make decisions. They don't want them to have control of their country. The European Commission, they want the power to review energy deals between member states and countries such as Russia. So the Energy Security Package aims to move the 28-member bloc towards a single energy union, which power and gas would flow freely across the borders, reducing reliance on Russian gas. And they are going to introduce this ex-ante check of the intergovernmental agreements. They're going to develop a mechanism where the EU will have the ability to look at intergovernment agreements to make sure they're compatible with EU law. So basically, they're looking at a one-world government. They want full control of everything. And it seems that this is one way that they're moving towards this. Because they realize that this system is coming down. It's collapsing. And they're making a play to take full control over everything that we're doing. They want all the people combined into one, and they want to control every single aspect of our lives. Dang. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.